Everyone, welcome to Build It number 6. Today, we've got Rob Carlton from the Holochain.
That's right. Yeah.
Sweet, Rob. Good to be here with you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, what are you going to show us today?
So today I'm going to show you a internal project we're working on called Talking Stickies, which is the history of it is we were using a tool for running our retros where we would, that kind of simulates a board where you put, post-it notes on. And we weren't in love with the tool. There were some limitations of some things we wanted different. And so we were talking about, well, let's find another tool. And then we said, well, let's just build it, and let's build it on Holochain just to dog food. And so that's what it is. So it's just a very simple kind of post-it note tool with a couple of nice features for doing retros. And it's built on top of 𝗔𝗯, which is a DNA written by Eric Harris Brown, who is one of our engineers and one of the founders of the project. And the 𝗔𝗯 thing is really interesting. It's basically like a combination of Google Docs or a backend for Google Docs and Git. But we barely use any of the functionality of 𝗔𝗯 in Talking Stickies. So I'm not going to go into great detail about 𝗔𝗯, but it's really cool. So you want to check that out as well. But Talking Stickies basically just uses 𝗔𝗯 currently as just a simple kind of Holochain backup, the Holochain backend that we can just easily spin up and use to have a distributed app. And one of the assumptions in this app that made it so easy, it was really easy to build, like really, really easy, which is super fun. One of the assumptions that makes it so easy is there's an assumption of trust between the agents. So we're not trying to worry about people proving who they are or validating anything. We're just kind of saying anyone that basically has the link to this thing, we're just trusting is safe. And for an application like this, where we're just throwing up a temporary retro board that's going to exist for 2 hours that we're sharing, a private link to, that seems totally reasonable. But yeah, that's the project. So you can, if you have any questions, let me know, or I can just kind of give you a little walkthrough of it.
Let's have a walkthrough.
Okay, great. All right, so this is just 2 users. Right now, for local dev, we specify the user by specifying a different port and app ID. In practice, this will just be, everyone will have their own conductor with their own agent, so that will all kind of happen naturally. But when you're developing, sometimes it's just easier to do it this way. So so we would have talk about I'm trying. Give me some retro topics. Just like retro topic number 1, and then you see it immediately appears in the other agent's window. And this agent can propose a topic. So and you're doing a retro, people are throwing out ideas. Contentious suggestion. And then, so it's going to appear here. It's all pretty simple. You can maybe you want to moderate it. So you say, actually, let's make, oops, I used the wrong button. Make a moderate suggestion. And another retro topic. And then one of the things that that we really needed, that's just a kind of nice UX feature, is there's 3 different ways to vote on these stickies, so that because what we were finding is someone would propose a topic and then a lot of people would vote on it. So we would start talking about the topic, and then nobody really understood it or cared about it at all. And we would figure out, oh, we all voted because we wanted to hear what the person was talking about, right? We're not voting because oh, this is really important to us too. So we separated out into these 3 categories. And the other thing we want to do is vote on the topic because we're this is great, but we don't want to talk about it, but we just want to express some kind of enthusiasm and encouragement, right? And so we came up with these 3 emojis. So when you're voting, if you want to talk about it, you click the talk emoji. If you don't really want to talk about it, but you just want to say, hey, this is cool, you hit the star emoji. And if you're not invested in it, but you want clarification or you want to understand more, you hit the question mark emoji. And the way the voting works is right now, and this is kind of hard coded, but we're gonna probably make this more customizable. But for us, this works is you can have up to 3 votes per person. So if I say I'm going to spend two per ticket, so 3 votes per person per ticket. So I say, I kind of medium want to talk about this retro topic 1, and then this person over here is like, yeah, I want to talk about it a little bit. So it has 3 votes, and then it shows you, okay, well, I voted twice, and then somebody else voted once. So that's just kind of like a little way of expressing the difference of how many times I voted versus how many people voted altogether. And then, and then you can sort. And so then you can sort by, so let me just say this is 2 and this is 1. And then here we'll say that's 0 and that's 1 and that's 2. So if I want to sort by, it already is sorted by how many talking votes it's got. But if I want to sort by star votes, I just do this. And then we have sorted by star votes, sorted by talking votes. Those are independent. So those are views per user. So different people can sort it in different ways. And yeah, and that's kind of it. And you can delete a topic and you change your mind. It's very, very simple. But I mean, I know you use this tool as well that we're replacing, and I wonder, it's just adding some new functionality to that tool and doing it in a distributed peer-to-peer network on top of Holochain. It's just and it was really, really easy. Like I didn't have to do any, this was basically UI development work. Like I didn't have to do any kind of messing about with Rust or difficult stuff to get it running. It was just like building a UI and connecting to this, to 𝗔𝗯ance, which is a publicly available repo.
Wow. Okay. Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty. I say any questions, but it's pretty simple and self-explanatory. So I don't know if there's.
Can you show us a little bit of the code of how you did connect to 𝗔𝗯ance?
Sure. Yeah. So basically, it's just using. So we have this is and this is way more sophisticated. Like I said, we're not using actually a bunch of the functionalities of 𝗔𝗯ance, in Talking Stickies, but this is the kind of the main 𝗔𝗯ance zone connection. So this is how we're connecting to the 𝗔𝗯ance backend. Maybe one of the things that's interesting is this pattern of, let me show you this pattern. So this pattern of defining, basically defining actions. So part of the way 𝗔𝗯ance works is you define this function called apply delta, and apply delta takes your current content, which is just the whole kind of your by analogy with Git, this is your snapshot, right, of your repo, and a delta which has a type, and then the delta has a type and it has optional data. And so, or maybe it's not optional, maybe you're probably always going to need data. But so then this function, basically, this is how you define the relationship between, this is how you define the kind of atomic commits, right? So you have add sticky, update sticky, and delete sticky. And it has, okay, well, what do I do with, how do I update the content? So I update the content by taking the current stickies, which is either an empty array, or if we have stickies, then it's whatever the current stickies are, and then adding delta.value, right? And then update stickies, similar, but you're actually filtering through the current stickies and updating, and then delete sticky, you're just filtering out the deleted sticky. This is where there's a little bit of a hack in Talking Stickies, actually, which is how we're not using this as full featured as we can right now, just to be using the same DNA. But ultimately, we're going to update. So what that means is we're storing everything as just a JSON string. So all of the stickies that we were looking at, that's all just serialized as a JSON string. Ultimately, we're going to store that in 𝗔𝗯ance as, as a, and so in 𝗔𝗯ance, so on, actually in the source chain and DHT as individual there'll be individual, entries for individual stickies, right? So it's going to be more fine grained, and then that'll give us some of the cooler like branching and fast forwarding and rewinding stuff that right now we don't have, but this is kind of halfway towards that. Yeah, I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, but yeah, this is so it might like if we come back here, and then there's one other piece, which is so this is kind of like the interface between from a UI dev point of view. So this is a kind of library that as a UI dev, you probably are not going to touch, right? It's just a little bit of abstracted code for connecting with Syn. From a UI dev point of view, this is what it's going to look like to connect with Syn. So you're just getting this connection class from that library we just looked at, which currently is not libraryfied because this is all kind of very much a work in progress. But eventually that will probably be its own separate repo. But you just get this connection from it, and then it's as simple as this, right? So you say new connection, you pass it the port and the app ID, which is coming from Holochain, so where you're running your Syn DNA, and then you have this empty session thing. So you say connection.open, and you pass it an empty session, which is just your kind of what your default data looks like, which in this case is literally just a title and a body which are empty, and then everything goes in the body. In this app, like I say, it's just stringified JSON for now, but later this will actually be, we won't be stringifying the JSON, and we'll be passing the whole data structure kind of unJSONed to the DNA. But what that requires is to update the DNA to handle that specific set of data. So and then there's some stuff like well, I'll stop there and say, where does your interest take you?
Okay. I mean, this is where I wish there was a live audience that was like, hey, I really want to know this. So maybe for people who are watching, you can ping in the notes and ask any questions or any comments, and then we can pick them up in a few weeks, a couple of weeks when we have the next one. But I guess the main thing to note for people is you're not actually writing any Rust. Yeah.
Yep. Not writing any Rust. The kind of the fiddliest bit about it is running the DNA in a Holochain, which is not super fiddly, but that's probably the part that's going to be different than normal UI dev work. But once you're running the DNA in Holochain, then there's this specific pattern for connecting with it, and then beyond that, it's just super easy. So I mean, what's interesting is right now, anyone who wants to build a peer-to-peer app on Holochain can use Syn to do it in this hacky way that I'm doing it right now without touching Rust, right? Like without touching line Rust. So just JSONify your data, put it, send it to the DNA, and then you can have this kind of collaborative app. Assuming that, right, you have this, one of the assumptions of Syn is you have this kind of trusted, the people you're sharing with are trusted. You don't have to worry about validation and identity and stuff like that. So, and by the way, there's in Talking Stickies, where part of the point of it is it's anonymous, right? It's a retro blog, so it's kind of like we do this anonymous thing, but with Talking, you can also, who everybody is. So if you wanted to build a different app where there was identity in the sense that you could see what agent was doing what thing, you could definitely do that as well. So I mean, the thing to do, I'm going to be pushing this code up soon. There's some version of it up right now, but it needs a bunch of cleaning up. So I'm going to be pushing this code up soon. So the thing to do would be to go to the Syn repo, which is, I think it's just holochain/syn, and you can look at that, and you can look at the Syntext, which is the other example app in there, which is a collaborative text editor. and you can look at this, which is under 𝗔𝗶𝘁𝗂𝘁 𝗛𝗂𝘁 is the name of the directory. And yeah, I mean, basically, you can just the things to look at is just yeah, the way we're using 𝗔𝗯𝘁 𝗛𝗁𝗔𝗯𝘁, sorry, side of app. So at the top level of our UI, we just have this. We just using this 𝗔 component and passing it a couple of things. Apply delta function, undo function, which we're not using at the moment, and then set agent pub key is just so that you can get the current agent's key out of there, which we need for this particular app. So yes, that's a really long way of saying yes. One of the cool things to note is you don't need to write a bunch of Rust code. You don't need to really understand the internals of Holochain to be building this kind of simple collaborative app on that, which I think is, yeah, it can open some doors for people.
Yeah, very cool. And okay, so that means that if you're running like this, you've got the Holochain conductor running, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yep.
Show us what that looks like.
Yeah, I can. Yep. Okay, cool. So yeah, so it literally just looks like, and this is in the README of the 𝗔 repo, so you can get this command from there. But basically, I'm just using this Holochain run DNA, which is a thing written by 𝗔𝗯𝘁, who's one of our kind of collaborators, and I think this is even deprecated at this point because people like using HC, which is another tool for running Holochain apps. But this just when 𝗔 was written, Eric wrote it, and Holochain run DNA was the thing then. So, but Holochain run DNA still exists and it still totally works. So I'm just doing Holochain run DNA and then passing it some config, and the config just literally sets up to agents. So let me show you in here. Run DNA config. So it's super simple. So it's, the config is just, it's basically saying run, create two interfaces, use the same DNA for both, give them different app names and different ports. So then you're going to have two WebSockets, each one with a different app name on it, but running the same DNA on two different ports. And then, that corresponds with, if I find this again, right, in the way that I'm doing the UI locally to be able to do local dev is you can just specify. So one of them defaults to that of the 4.8 and 𝗔, and then this one is like so. So that's also pretty simple. I mean, the thing that's, so yeah, if I run this, it's gonna fire up to the two conductors. The thing that you want to make sure of as well is that you are on a good revision of Holochain that works with the DNA. And I can literally just tell you, this is one of the trickier things I will say, is finding the right version of Holochain. So this is an older version for what, if you want to use Talking Stickies UI, then this revision, which I'll just put in the text, you just say, go into the Holochain repo and say git check out that, and then, whatever cargo install Holochain, that's going to get you a Holochain version that works with this DNA. I think the DNA has been updated a couple of times since then, and there might be a way. Yeah, I don't have a quick answer to this. There might be a way inside of the repo to figure out what a good Holochain revision is. If not, just use the latest one and then maybe go back from there. But yeah.
All right, sweet. This is great. Anything else?
Yeah, it sounds good. I mean, in a couple of weeks, I mean, the thing that's coming down the pipe that I'll say that's really exciting is, so right now, in order to use this app, you need to have a version of Holochain installed locally and just kind of do this, slightly, kind of arcane invocations on the command line to get it running. On our team, we have a range of more or less technical people, so we want to be able to deliver this in some kind of packaged way, so that everybody can use it without having to install Holochain. And there's a thing coming down the pipe soon, that will allow you, this basically like it's a standalone app that will allow you to install Holochain hApps with like the DNA and the UI all kind of running inside of this standalone app, so that non-technical people can do it, and they can just hit basically just hit install and point to a URL. It'll download what you need and then run it from there. So that's going to be really cool for delivery. I'm not working directly on that, but and so I don't know exactly how much to say about it, because I don't know what's supposed to be public or what the timeline is or anything, but I know that it's coming down the pipe pretty soon. So yeah, so that's also going to be exciting. So if you're looking at this and being like, okay, this is great, but like, how do you package it for like non-technical users or less technical users? Then the answer to that is coming as well.
Amazing. All right, super. Cool. Well, thanks so much, Rob. That was fantastic.
Yeah, no worries. All right.
Sweet. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Yeah.